Bonjour et bienvenue sur French Day. Today we are going to cover the 10 most common mistakes for French beginners. So this should be able to help you improve your writing skills. So make sure to watch the video till the end, especially if you're taking the high school certificate in New South Wales or a DELF level A1 or any other test. I am sure this will help you a lot. Allez, c'est parti, on commence. So let's start with the first mistake, and it is something that can be quite confusing, is the use of next and last. So for example, if you want to say next weekend or last weekend, in French, next and last will be placed after the word weekend. So we will have le weekend prochain for next weekend or le weekend dernier for last weekend. Okay? Another important thing as well to note is dernier and prochain will agree with the gender and the number. For instance, we use the word weekend, which is masculine. If we use the word semaine, meaning the week, semaine is feminine. So we will have la semaine prochaine, next week, or la semaine dernière, last week. I can say samedi prochain, mercredi dernier. I can say l'année prochaine, l'année dernière, le mois prochain. There is another thing to remember. If you want to talk about your last holidays or your next holidays, in that case, next or last will be placed before. So we will say les prochaines vacances, the next holidays, or les dernières vacances, the last holidays. And that comes because we are talking here about a thing, not necessarily a time frame. Okay, so same thing will apply with words such as the last movie you saw, le dernier film. Okay, let's move on to mistake number 2. How do you translate in the morning on the weekend? Often I see and I hear dans le matin, sur le weekend, and so on. This is wrong. Please do not write this. Instead, you want to talk about something that you usually do on the weekend or in the morning. So in French, we simply use le plus we mention that time frame. Le matin, l'après-midi, le weekend, and so on. Okay, so we don't put any preposition before. We just keep it simple with le. However, if you want to refer to an activity that you're going to do and it's a one-time action, for example, on Saturday I'm going to play soccer, it's not something that you normally do every Saturday. In that case, you will simply say samedi, je vais jouer au foot. So you put the day, samedi, and nothing before. Okay, let's look at mistake number 3. Often I see a confusion and people using the word nuit instead of soir. Okay, so nuit, it's really the idea of after midnight. It's the middle of the night, whereas soir, it's the evening. So when you want to say last night, you would say hier soir. If you want to say tomorrow night, it will be demain soir. That's it. So you use soir. It's like the idea of bonne nuit and bonsoir. Bonne nuit, you say it when you go to bed. It's night, time to sleep, so you will say bonne nuit. Whereas bonsoir, it's good evening, anytime like from 5:30, 6 p.m. till later on. Okay, so make sure you got this right. Mistake number 4. Let me ask you, how would you say I go to the restaurant or I go to the cinema? If you think je vais à le restaurant or à le cinéma, there you made the common mistake. What is this mistake? It is the use of a and le next to each other. It doesn't exist in French. A and le becomes together o, a, u. So whenever you write down a, le, make sure to cross it out straight away and write instead o, a, u. So for instance, you would say je vais au supermarché. Je suis allé au théâtre. And so on. And same principle applies to de and le. De, le doesn't work together at all. We have to replace it by du, du, du. For instance, je fais du ski. So you will not write de le ski, but du ski. Ça va? Voilà, so very important to remember this one, and from now on, I'm sure you won't make this mistake ever again. Mistake number 5. Mistake number 5 is the use of the preposition chez. C-H-E-Z. Chez. Alors, if you want to remember something, chez is like saying someone's place. For example, I'm going to my parents' place, I'm going to my friend's place. You're mentioning people. So because of that, you cannot write a or o, you have to write chez. Je vais chez mes amis. Je vais chez mes parents. Je vais chez ma grand-mère, and so on. What's interesting in French is when you refer to the hairdresser, you will see je vais chez le coiffeur. Same thing applies with je vais chez le médecin. Are you ready for the next one? Mistake number 6. When you want to say I visited my friends, what do you say? Do you use the verb visiter? That's wrong. Okay, visiter in French, to visit in English. So visiter, you use it for places, monuments, landmarks. For example, j'ai visité Paris. However, if you want to say I visited my friends or I visited my grandmother, for instance, we have to use another verb. So there are different options and alternatives, and I'm going to show you two. The first one that you can easily use is voir, which means to see. So you will say j'ai vu. J'ai vu mes amis. J'ai vu ma grand-mère. I saw my grandmother. I saw my friends. Okay. The other option, when you really want to say I visited, is rendre visite. Rendre visite. In past tense, it will become j'ai rendu visite. J'ai rendu visite à ma mère. J'ai rendu visite à ma meilleure amie. Okay, so again, to visit someone is rendre visite and not visiter. So the next one is a false friend. A false friend is a word that looks like the English word, but in French has a completely different meaning compared to this English word. That beautiful word we're going to see right now is rester. We do not use rester for to rest. Okay, rester in French means to stay. So you would say I stayed home. Je suis resté à la maison. If you want to say I rest on the weekend, you can use se reposer. Je me repose le weekend. Be careful, se reposer is reflexive, which means it has that little pronoun se in front. So you have to ensure that you put it in the correct way. If you use je, it becomes me, je me. And then, as usual, conjugate your verb at the correct tense, Je me repose le weekend. Or, if you use the past tense, again, be careful. It's a reflexive verb. You will use the auxiliary être. Je me suis reposé. Voilà. Okay, so we remember to rest is se reposer. It is not rester, which means to stay. Now, imagine I'm saying c'est chaud. C'est chaud. What am I talking about? The weather? Unfortunately, I am not talking about the weather. When you say c'est chaud or c'est froid, you're actually talking about something. So it could potentially be my plate, my food. However, if you do want to mention the weather and express, for instance, it's hot or it's cold, we use a very particular expression, which is il fait. Il fait chaud. It's hot. Il fait froid. It's cold. Il fait beau. It's sunny. That's it. So remember, the weather, we always use the expression il fait. If you want to describe the weather in the past and mention it was hot or it was cold, il fait becomes il faisait. If you want to talk about next weekend's weather, what the weekend is going to be like, you can say il va faire. Il va faire chaud, il va faire froid. You can also use it for temperature. Il va faire 30 degrés and so on. If you want to talk about the rain, it's raining, for example, in that case we use the verb pleuvoir and it becomes il pleut. So that's specific, it doesn't use il fait. Now let's have a look at the conjugation. A very common mistake that I see every now and then is the use of the verb aller, which means to go, in past tense. Beautiful past tense and passé composé. I know it's been one of your nightmares to remember passé composé, which verbs use the auxiliary être and which verbs use the auxiliary avoir. How are you going to memorize all of them? So aller is definitely using être and I want you to remember and I want it to be automatic. I went, je suis allé. If you want a little tip in order to memorize all the verbs using être, I will definitely recommend to look at la maison d'être. I will put the link below so you can click on it. I love this idea of la maison d'être simply because you can make up a story with all those little verbs using être in passé composé, and I think it is super easy to memorize them all like that. For instance, you were born, then you become, and then you die. Okay, so you have naître, devenir, mourir. Those three use the auxiliary être. Plus, remember that all reflexive verbs use, of course, the auxiliary être as well. Voilà. Oh good, you made it. We are at our last most common mistake in French, and this is related to tenses and translation from English to French. You want to say, I'm watching TV. Guess what? Very often I see this. I am watching TV being translated as je suis regarde la télévision. And if I have a sentence such as I'm playing soccer, it becomes je suis joue au foot. And this doesn't work at all in French. When you say I'm watching or I'm playing, you are describing the fact that you are currently doing this activity. We do not have that particular tense in French. So what we do is we simply use the present tense. So I watch TV or I am watching TV will be je regarde la télévision. So I'm playing soccer or I play soccer will be je joue au foot. Make it easy and simple. Voilà, that's it. That's all for the 10 most common mistakes in French for beginners. How about you do a bit of practice? I have prepared a few sentences that you can translate and make sure you don't do any of these 10 common mistakes. I hope this will be helpful and that you will have improved your writing skills for the future, and I look forward to seeing you very soon. À bientôt! Au revoir!